Welcome to episode 6 of Deconstruct the Universe. My name is Patrick, and deconstructing with me today are Justin McDowell and Matt Perrell. Hi,
What's
Justin.
up versus babies?
Justin just got a corgi.
That's true.
It's a very adorable corgi.
Adorable. Her name is Griselda, but we call her Grizzy.
It's great.
It's Grizzy great.
In this episode, we'll be talking about the characters Falcon and Sharon Carter in honor of the Disney Plus original series Falcon and Winter Soldier. If you would like to hear about Winter Soldier, check out episode 7, coming soon. The first card we'll be taking a look at is, Falcon. This card came from the Legacy set. The card number is LEG005. The team affiliation is Avengers. It's a 1 cost with flight, 1 attack, and 4 defense, and 1 health. All right, Justin, straight and forward. Tell me, who's Falcon?
Falcon is Sam Wilson, who shares a name with that old guy who is on the I Want You posters, the recruitment posters. Apparently Uncle Sam is also named Sam Wilson. So that's Falcon. But he is he's a partner with Captain America, and he flies with wings. He also has a psychic connection with birds, and in particular, he's best friends with a falcon, an actual falcon named Redwing.
He has a psychic connection with birds?
Yeah, he can.
That is not something that we have seen in the MCU.
Unfortunately.
No, but we did see it in a Wish Pile entry.
Which one?
I believe. Yeah, it was the level 3 Captain America where he gets a token called Birds, a token supporting character.
Oh, that's right.
Birds.
The bird token. And Redwing. We've seen Redwing as a robot, I guess, in the MCU, but we haven't seen the actual Falcon. So in the comics, Falcon is a character that also has a falcon. Is that right?
That's correct. Falcon is a falconer, apparently.
All right. And in the comics, when is the first time that we see Sam Wilson?
So he shows up in Captain America number 117 in September of 1969.
All right, so we've had him around for a while. Let's take a look at this card specifically. The powers on this card are Mobile and Sidekick. Mobile means that once per turn during your main phase, but not during combat, you may move Falcon to your front or back row. And Sidekick means that when Falcon team attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on each other attacker. So Justin, talk to me about these abilities. What do they mean and how do they represent Falcon?
So mobile, I suppose, means it's kind of a reference to his flying. He does have flight, which is also a reference to his flying. But mobile just means that he can move around a lot, so you can have him in the front row to make a team attack, and then you can move him to the back row to protect him, so that way he can come back next turn and do it all over again. And then all the while putting +1/+1 counters on his fellow team attackers with his sidekick keyword power.
All right, let's talk about the art. This artwork comes from Captain America in 2014, issue 15, page 8. The penciler is Carlos Pacheco. Tell me about Carlos.
Carlos has been around for a long time as far as I can tell. He also penciled titles like Avengers Forever, X-Men, and Fantastic Four, and I wasn't able to find any information about him online. And then the inker was Mariano Taibo, whose Instagram is @TaiboMariano, and the colorist is Val Staples, whose Instagram is @JamesValStaples. And altogether, they put together a pretty nice-looking book. I know you can kind of tell by the caliber of the titles that Carlos has worked on that he's probably got some heat behind him, working on X-Men and Fantastic Four and Avengers and Captain America. So he's definitely competent. The whole team is very competent. I will say that there's a character, his name is Nuke, and his costume, I suppose you could call it, consists of an American flag painted on his face, and that was all done in the colors as far as I can tell. Carlos didn't pencil that in there, which I think can be good, but I don't think it was very well handled in this case. It sort of just looks like a transparent flag is being shown on his face the whole time. It's a little bit distracting. But otherwise, if you look at the Falcon card art, there I think the colors are really beautiful. It's a night sky, and there's kind of almost an aurora borealis effect going on behind the Falcon, and Honestly, it looks kind of peaceful.
And Carlos has also drawn the artwork for The Best Offense is a Good Defense and The River. Well, just River, I guess. The terrain card.
Oh, the new terrain card.
Yeah, the terrain card we got in Crossover 3. Well, the writer is Rick Remender, who is also responsible for writing the stories behind cards like Arnim Zola, Kang, Red Skull, and Shadow King. What else might we know Rick from?
Rick wrote Uncanny X-Force and Uncanny Avengers for Marvel. He also has some, I believe they're both Image titles. One is called Fear Agent, which is a sci-fi story, and one that I've read is called Sea of Red, and that's like a modern vampire story, which there's 3 trade paperbacks of it. The first trade paperback is very good. I enjoyed it very much, and so I kept reading it, but it kind of goes downhill from there. The second one was okay, and then the third one I just did not find very good at all. So,
And as our resident X-Men guy, I would highly recommend his Uncanny X-Force run. It's pretty unparalleled and so different than a lot of the other X-Men that I have read. It's really dark, it's got great characters, the outfits are amazing, and I was truly in love with his run of that when I was reading it.
Well, let's focus more on this story. So what's going on in this issue or this arc for Captain America?
So in this issue, it doesn't feature Captain America all that much. In fact, it doesn't really even feature Falcon all that much. In this panel, he's just kind of flying ahead of this helicopter while Captain America and others, including Nuke, are inside and kind of talking out their feelings and that kind of stuff. Nuke, who is not known for being nuclear of any sort, he's talking about how, like, why they call him Nuke and how he doesn't understand it, and they're telling him that he's been used as a weapon, and basically he's been brainwashed by the Iron Nail, aka Ran Shen, to kind of run a terror campaign across Eastern Europe and get allies for the Chinese and kind of ally them against America. So Nuke has been brainwashed to like be this bad guy, and Captain America and his team are trying to like basically hash it out and tell him like, you know, you can help us out now and you've been brainwashed and that kind of stuff. And so Falcon is just kind of like flying by himself. I guess he doesn't have to deal with that drama. Eventually, they take Nuke to a secret S.H.I.E.L.D. base, and it turns out that the Iron Nail is able to track them, and once he knows that they're inside that S.H.I.E.L.D. base, then he also, in addition to brainwashing Nuke, has somehow installed some kind of explosive nuclear device in his body, and he basically like blows up the entire S.H.I.E.L.D. base. And Falcon is talking with Nick Fury, if I remember correctly, and he manages to swoop Nick clear of the blast just in time. So that's basically what's going on in this issue.
The Iron Nail, huh?
Yeah.
Well, if we ever get a versus card for Iron Nail, you better beware of Melter.
That's
the Melter
true.
card that we have gets +5, +0, and you may KO an equipment on the defender. If the defender has iron in its name, it can't strike. Super niche.
Yeah, he did. Iron Nail doesn't have any noticeable. He's not like an Iron Man
He's like
clone
Iron
or anything
Fist.
like that. Yeah, he's closer to Iron Fist in that case.
All right, well, we do have a few other Falcon-esque cards, but they're actually Mantle Captain America. So I'm sure you're dying to tell us why we have Mantle Captain America cards that seem to be Sam Wilson. What's going on there?
Yeah, so that is Sam Wilson as Captain America. He's on the S.H.I.E.L.D. team in Versus, and he becomes Captain America when Steve Rogers basically gets the super soldier serum stripped from him once again. It's happened multiple times, but in this case it turns him into this old man, and he stays as Captain America for a little while, but eventually he knows that he has to pass on the mantle to someone else, and that ends up being Sam Wilson. So Sam takes up the S.H.I.E.L.D., and he gets his own series, which is Captain America : Sam Wilson. And basically he gets his turn as the shield slinger. And that title is written by Nick Spencer. The cover in this case is done by Alex Ross, famed artist. I'm sure most people know who that is by now. And funnily enough, on it, Captain America, in this case Sam Wilson, is punching out Steve Rogers instead of Adolf Hitler. And that doesn't happen in the comic, but they do have disagreements, and so they sort of illustrated that in a parody of the original Captain America comic. And mostly I want to talk about it because I thought it was a really interesting run, and I wanted to kind of comment on that and Secret Empire, where Steve Rogers becomes the Hydra Cap. I think that the whole story can't really be separated from one another, because Sam Wilson, Captain America, and Steve Rogers, Captain America, where he plays the Hydra guy, and Secret Wars were all kind of helmed by the same writer, Nick Spencer. So they all kind of go hand in hand. And it was just a really interesting take on what it's like to have a black Captain America. The short story is, it ain't pretty. Like, America can't really handle it. And at the end of the whole Secret Empire thing, and when Steve Rogers took up the Captain America mantle again, there was a lot of reactions about, how good that was, and like, was Sam Wilson a good Captain America? And the conclusions that I saw said that he wasn't. Like, they were just like, he just wasn't a good Captain America. And that's not what I got out of reading those books. When I was reading it, the thing that I got out of it was that he was not allowed to be Captain America. Like, America wouldn't let him be Captain America because they were constantly fighting him every step of the way. They kept saying to give back the shield. There was like a hashtag trending on Twitter in this comics universe, give back the shield. And basically the Fox News network of the Marvel universe was like constantly berating him and keeping an eye on him and like blowing up every small mistake he made. And it's like, they didn't even give him a chance. And then out comes the Hydra Cap, and then the actual, in real life, news media blows up because Captain America is a bad guy now, and what does that mean? And would Jack Kirby be dismayed that his creation was turned into a Nazi because Jack Kirby was Jewish? And it's just like, it's just all missing the point. And it was just like, I think Jack Kirby would be really interested to see this sort of struggle that is going on with America and with fascism and things like that. And I had a friend who was like, how can you read this title because they took a good character and turned him bad? And it's like, it's Marvel. Like, you gotta let it play out. Like, it's not that there's no way that Steve Rogers is gonna be a villain for all time. Like, you just got to see where the story goes, and then after that you can judge where it, how it went. And I think a lot of people just missed the point. After Secret Empire was done, I was just like blown away by how immersive the world was and how terrible it was. And I mean, I like dark stories in general. Like I always compare things to Age of Apocalypse, which is like the first real story for me that, like, it was like, wow, this is a really intense world, and it's really dark, and I feel like Secret Empire was along the same lines, where it's just this like intensely dark version of America where Captain America is evil, and people are trying to like, fight for their sanity and in this like messed up nation. And so by the end of it, like in the end, Steve Rogers comes back, and Falcon kind of gives up Sam Wilson kind of resumes the Falcon mantle, and it ends with a reflective issue in the Generations series of one-shots, where it's like these, comparing the two Captain Americas, and he ultimately decides that he can't really be, he can't be Captain America, but also he doesn't want to be Captain America. He wants to be his own man. Like, he wants to be Falcon because that's who he is. And I appreciate that, because Falcon has been a sidekick of sorts to Captain America, but pretty much from the beginning when they were sharing a title, it wasn't Captain America and his trusty sidekick Falcon. It was Captain America and the Falcon. Like, they were two characters that shared the title for like a long time, like from the probably 69 all through the 70s and maybe even into the 80s. This was a title that had these two characters. Like, Captain America he didn't even have a solo title. It was with the Falcon. So on a tangent, if there was one thing that I would change about Falcon's versus card, is that he has the keyword sidekick, and I would rewrite that to be something else, because I don't see him as a sidekick. Like, I see him as his own guy. So
yeah, and this is super relevant right now. At the time of this recording, we've only seen 2 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Again, he's headlining, and he's first build in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Mm-hmm. But we're seeing the struggle between him and U.S. Agent, mm-hmm. which is who he'll become, of who gets to take up that mantle of Captain America. Now, I want to talk about this a little bit more, and I want to get your thoughts here. We have several cards that have mantles in Versus. We have Miles Morales is a mantled Spider-Man. We have Kate Bishop, who is a mantled Hawkeye. We have Falcon, who is a mantled Captain America. And in the comics right now, spoiler alert for Daredevil, Elektra actually is a mantled Daredevil. So talk to me about how you feel with most of these mantles going to minorities, and how important is that in our world right now?
I think it's super important, because I think people, you hear it over and over, people want to see themselves in the characters. And I recall the story of the creation of Miles Morales, which Brian Michael Bendis created him, and the idea kind of sprang to him, at least as I understand it, when he was at a comic book convention, and a child who was not white, I don't know his exact race or anything like that, but came up to him and said his favorite character was Spider-Man, and Rick asked him, or Brian Michael Bendis asked him why, and he said, because I can pretend it's me underneath the mask, which I thought was really, really strong. And so he took that to heart, and he was like, oh yeah, it could be anyone under the mask, and why isn't it anyone under the mask? And I think we're seeing that a lot with Marvel nowadays, and I think that we've kind of talked about this before in the Warpath episode, where it's like you gotta do the work to make characters their own thing sometimes. Like Warpath was a character that they had underused for a long time, and maybe they still are underusing him. But with Spider-Man and Miles Morales, it's sometimes you just need a version of that character who is different and who other people can see themselves in. And I think that they're doing a good job of expanding, in not just by giving people of color mantles of existing white characters, but by doing all kinds of transformative things to improve the standing of minority characters, and to create all new characters, sort of like Falcon saying I'm not Captain America, I'm Falcon, and saying we need these characters to be who they are and to just stand up as their own people, and we need to actually treat them with the respect that they deserve. But I also do want to point out that there's also a mantled Falcon now, who was part of the Champions, and he was actually the sidekick to Sam Wilson when he was Captain America. So Sam Wilson had his own Falcon, who I don't know. There's his Red Wing was a vampire at the time, and he ended up developing a psychic connection with this new Falcon character. And I don't remember all the details. It was very strange, but it was also very funny. And anyway, he ended up joining the Champions for at least a little while. And so yeah, Falcon actually has another Falcon mantle that he shares with.
Vampire Falcon, yeah. Sure.
And I also just want to, kind of going back to talking about mantles, a mantle is a mantle for a reason. There's weight behind that name, and there's a lot of story behind it as well. And it has a legacy. So people gravitate to those characters for a reason. So by taking that mantle and giving it to an underprivileged or an underutilized section of society, I think that's powerful. And I think that it's something that does good to get these characters into people's hands. Whether people care about it or not, I bet they're still reading it and they're just like, I don't agree with this. I can't wait to see the next issue to see if I like it more. Because I will say I've had that with quite a few things before where I'm like, I don't like what's happening here, but I'm going to keep reading it because maybe I will, or maybe I'll learn something, whatever. So I think there is an importance about providing these opportunities for underprivileged or underutilized characters to step into the spotlight, but then giving them their own space as well. So I think I can see arguments for both ways, but however you can get these characters into the spotlight, I think is a good thing to do.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on. I think that that's a great topic, but in the interest of time, let's go ahead and talk about the artwork a little bit more. Do you think that the artwork for Falcon accurately depicts Falcon? Do you think it's a good choice?
Yeah, I think it is. He got a costume redesign by Alex Ross not too long ago, and I do sort of wish it was that costume because it's, I don't know, maybe it's less iconic because he's had the red and white for a long time, but he's got this new black costume, which I think is pretty cool looking. But I'm just glad it's not like the plunging neckline of the 70s. That's all I really care about, because that one just looks very awkward to me.
The next iteration of his costume will have a big collar-like vision.
Yeah. Catch the wind.
Catch the wind.
Very aerodynamic.
All right, and if people would like to learn more about Falcon, what is some recommended reading you have for them?
I mean, I would definitely say Sam Wilson, Captain America, and the whole Secret Empire storyline. I'll say one last thing about that. I read a review where they had said that Secret Empire was kind of critically panned and it wasn't very well received, and they thought that it was kind of a shame because they also thought it was a really good storyline. But you had to read it from the perspective that this wasn't a story about Nazi Captain America. This was a story about Sam Wilson being Captain America. And I think reading it again from that perspective really changes how you see. Like, if you didn't like Secret Empire before, reading it from that perspective, I think is going to change how you see that story. And I think that, I mean, I personally thought that Steve Rogers' Captain America was not that well written. That title, I thought it was really dull and not that interesting. Like, I don't really care to delve into why Captain America is part of Hydra. Like, for me, that's just not interesting. Whereas Sam Wilson's side of the story was like worlds more interesting. And they were written by the same person, so I'm not panning the writer of one at the expense of the other. It's the same guy who wrote them. And I just think that like Sam was intended to be the star of that, and I think that especially the media going bonkers over Nazi Cap just kind of overshadowed that in like the worst way possible. So I would say read that, and then afterwards there's like a breath of fresh air where Falcon gets his own title for I think 12 issues where he fights vampires again. So I guess for some reason he's dealing with a lot of vampires, but he teams up with Blade and they fight vampires. So check that one out too.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our next card. Matt will be talking about Sharon Carter, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Sharon's card number is SVH040. She came to us in the S.H.I.E.L.D. versus Hydra set. Her team affiliation is S.H.I.E.L.D. She is a 2-cost range character with 1 attack, 2 defense, and 1 health. All right, Matt, tell us, who is Sharon Carter?
I think you kind of gave it away there. She's a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's also known as Agent 13 and has often been a love interest for Captain America in the comic books.
Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson?
Steve Rogers. Fair point, though. Fair point.
All right, and when did we first see Sharon?
So from what I gathered, her first appearance was in Tales of Suspense number 75 back in 1966, created by Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Dick Ayers. And I went back and looked at those appearances, and I read through them, and I don't think she was ever really named in those issues. She was just like always like the girl that was just being a spy or working for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Like they actually called her the girl, or
Yeah, so like on like the cover titles, it was like the girl, the captain, and the leaping leopard or something like that.
Batroc the leopard.
Batroc the leopard. Yeah. So it was this whole title about them, and she was just the girl. She was like doing like a package handoff with another SHIELD officer. And Captain America is like, no, that guy took your package. Like, he swapped them. And she was like, no. Like, it's fine. Like, that was meant to happen. They were doing, like, a spy package swap or whatever. And then Batroc comes in, and they chase her down. And I don't know. It's this whole thing, but she's never really given a name. So I don't know when it's found that was Sharon Carter, but that was her first introduction to the comic book world. And something I found as well that was interesting was that she was originally created as the younger sister to Peggy Carter, which has now been retconned, and she's like the grandniece of Peggy. And speaking of Peggy Carter, I'm curious when we're going to be getting a card for her. I'd love to see one.
That's another mantle Captain America, I believe.
Yeah, in an alternate universe, there is a Peggy Carter Captain America, and that is actually a character we've seen in the Exiles comic that I did the Wolvie wish card pile for. So she was in that as well, which was pretty great.
There is an Agent Peggy Carter card in Versus already.
Is there?
Yeah. She's from Legacy set. Legacy card number 006. 2-cost honorary Avenger. You pay 1 less to recruit Avengers characters.
Show me this card.
Oh, yeah.
So she's part of the Infinite Loop with Black Widow and Valkyrie and Nightmare.
Wow. Y'all, I'm done with Versus now. I'm out. No one's going to trust me to say a darn thing about Versus anymore.
And then there's this MCU Peggy Carter as well.
Well, yeah, I guess I was just talking about Illustrated, but... Yeah. Well, when I picture Peggy Carter, I think of MCU and not Illustrated. So that's why my brain didn't ping to the Illustrated card.
I'm hoping we'll get a newer Peggy as the Dryad because she's back in Captain America.
Oh.
And
I would like this.
Yeah, she's pretty much a badass. So.
See, that's the Peggy I want then.
But so is Sharon. So it runs in the family, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
All right, let's take a look at her powers. She has Agent and Smart. Agent is a very common keyword for SHIELD characters. When Sharon appears, look at cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of agents on your side. Put any of them on the bottom of your deck. Smart means when Sharon appears, draw a card. Tell us about these powers and how they work with Sharon.
Well, obviously, Agent, she's an agent of SHIELD, so she has that one. I thought it was interesting that they gave her Smart because in my research for her, there wasn't anything that really stood out as her having like any sort of like super intelligence or anything like that. So like when I think of a smart character in the Marvel Universe, I think of your Mr. Fantastic, Riri Williams, Beast. I think of those characters that have been classified as like these geniuses. So I was like, well, why did they give her Smart? And as I was reading the issue this art is from, I was able to get more of an insight in why she was given this ability for Smart. I don't really know what's being smart and drawing a card has to do, other than, I don't know, drawing cards is a really smart way to play the game because you get more cards to play with. I don't know. But when I talk more about the issue, I can go into why I think the Smart ability works for her.
Yeah, what I like about Sharon is that not only do you get the benefits of Agent, where you're kind of milling through your deck, but you also basically get to choose the next card that you're drawing, or you get to like draw the card that you want. So like, especially if you just have Sharon, then you get to either draw that card on the top of your deck, or you can put it on the bottom and draw the next, which is good because then you're drawing a card either way, and maybe it's a random card, but you gotta get the cards in your hand. But if you have multiple agents, then you can actually choose, look through several different cards. Say you have 3 agents out, you can look through 3 different cards and say, oh, I want to choose the best of these 3. Or if they're still not good, 1, consider your deck building skills. But 2, you can put them all on the bottom of your deck and then draw the next one. So I think it's weird to just have her be smart, like, she's a girl, she's smart or whatever. But it's actually is extra smart because she can like look through your deck a little bit and see like, is this actually smart to draw this right now?
So what you're saying is the more agents you have out on the field, the more intelligence you can gather, i.e. cards from your deck, and then use Sharon's ability to be super smart and choose the right card or the right intelligence you've gathered.
Yeah, you're like a spy network.
It's like being a spy, like being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Wow. I love how that all came together.
Well, this card art is also from a Captain America issue from 2011. It's issue 9, page 12. The artist is Alan Davis. What can you tell us about Alan?
So Alan got his start in the comic industry actually at DC, but when Chris Claremont was doing his run on Uncanny X-Men, he reached out to Alan and brought him over to do some work on New Mutants, Excalibur, and the Uncanny X-Men run that he was working on. He's done a lot of Marvel's comics since then, a ton of it, really. And most recently, I'm going back to X-Men, I know, but he did an issue for Giant Size X-Men for Nightcrawler, and he not only did the art for that one, but he did the story for it too. And I know we have a lot of Bleeding Heart Nightcrawler fans out there, so if you haven't checked out Giant Size X-Men for Nightcrawler, I highly recommend it. I thought it was a really fun story, and it left a lot of mystery for things to come, so I'm really hoping that we'll be able to get a lot of payoff for that.
And Alan Davis kind of made a big splash with Excalibur, where he also did Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that being
What's
big
a
when it was-
Nightcrawler?
Well, when we get a card for it, we'll let you know.
Thanks.
Well, it's in the game. It's the thing that crawls by night.
Yes.
That's the card you want to look for.
Well, Alan is also responsible for the artwork for at least 5 other Versus cards, such as Diablo, Mr. Fantastic, and Enchantress. The inker is Mark Farmer, and colorist is Laura Martin. What can you tell me about them?
So Laura Martin, I can say that I really enjoy her art. She is able to do some really great blending of more realistic art. If you look at her stuff from Star Wars to much more like cartoony classic comic book art as well. So I really like what she's done.
She's an Eisner Award winner as well. I believe she won an award at least for a cross-gen comic, which I talked about in a previous episode, called Ruse, which is sort of a Sherlock Holmes-esque comic. And so yeah, I think the industry recognizes her skills as a colorist.
What is the Eisner Award?
It's like basically the Oscars of the comics world. So the highest achievement in your craft, I guess, being recognized.
Good for her.
Yeah.
And then Mark Farmer, he actually works with Alan Davis quite a lot to do the inking for him. So they're a really good pair together. And he's done the work with Excalibur as well. And it looks like he's most notable for his work on JLA.
Justice League?
Yes, Justice League of America, JLA.
Got it. All right, well, the writer is Ed Brubaker. What else has Ed written?
Ed Brubaker is a big name in the comics world. If you're watching Falcon and Winter Soldier as well right now, he's pretty much the reason we have the Winter Soldier. I won't go too much into it because we will be doing a Winter Soldier card in the future, but without Ed Brubaker, we would not have the Falcon and Winter Soldier as we have him right now. So he did the story for the Captain America comic that this is going on in. He made a lot of changes for the better, I think. And some other stuff that he's done as well is, man, I really got to stop talking about X-Men, is X-Men Deadly Genesis, which gave us Vulcan from the Omega set that we have as well. So Ed Brubaker has been a big name in creating characters that have stayed around for quite a while.
He also wrote the source material for the amazing Daredevil card that we have.
Yeah, and he wrote one of my favorite series called Criminal, which is a series of, I believe I don't know if they were ever issues, but definitely trade paperbacks or graphic novels based on like a Sin City noir kind of storyline. Those are some of my favorites ever written. So he's definitely got talent. Apparently he makes a cameo in Winter Soldier, but I've never been able to ferret out which face he actually is.
And can we find any of these creators online?
Ed Brubaker does not have anything online. He used to be on Twitter, but like so many artists and writers before him, he has left Twitter because people are terrible. Laura Martin has her own website at lauramartinart.com, and Alan Davis has his own website at alandavis-comicart.com.
And I know Laura Martin's on Instagram at Laura Martin Art.
Awesome. Go follow these creators. Well, let's talk about the story. What's going on in this story in particular?
So from this comic, this is the fourth part of an arc where, as Justin mentioned before, Captain America seems to lose his super soldier ability from time to time. So he's back to being a skinny young lad without his super strength, and Sharon Carter is off on a mission to try and help and figure out why it happened. You know, talking about why she's so smart again. In this issue, she has infiltrated, I believe it was a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier that Machine Smith was held captive on. And so Sharon Carter released Machine Smith from his captivity in hopes that she would be able to like force him to tell her how Steve Rogers' abilities were taken away. But of course, it does not go the way that she's planned. And Machine Smith is able to use his like psyche over Wi-Fi or something like that to control machines. And so she's released him on this helicarrier, and he's just like taking over all the machines and trying to kill her. And so they come to a head at this one point, which is from the card. She goes into this repair room. He takes over this robot whose arm you can see on the left side of the card. And she basically is beaten and like thrown on the ground, but tells him that she has like mutually assured destruction right now. So that if he kills her, then she's going to be like setting off an EMP that's going to kill him, and then the helicarrier is going to blow up. So there's this whole mutually assured destruction thing happening, which again goes to show how smart she is. She really thought out a plan to be able to put him in a corner to make sure that she can get the information she needs. So in exchange for him giving her the information about what happened to Steve, though, she does have to let him go and be free. So it's maybe not the smartest thing, but it's definitely a smart thing.
She has honor.
She has honor, you know. She really cares about Steve. You know, we've talked about them being in love before. And I think when you're pitted up against letting someone be free so you can save the person that you love and then just go track him down later, I think that's something that these heroes will always do.
It looks like in this picture she's got a big old gun. So do you think this artwork accurately depicts Sharon?
It is a big old gun, and she doesn't even get to use it. He blows it up very quickly. No, I don't love this picture for Sharon. I really wish. I mean, it doesn't show her smarts in it. Like, I think something that would have been really cool, and I don't even know if the art for it exists. So they have to go, choose something from the art they're given from Marvel. But I think it would have been something really cool if she had like all these papers across the desk that she was looking at, or some sort of like holographic device that she was studying, or something where we got the gist that she was like formulating a plan of some kind. I think that would have been a little bit cooler to see for her, especially because she has the ability of smart. And then she also doesn't even have like the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on her to like show that she's an agent. So I can't say this is my favorite art for the cards that we have. I'm not a huge fan of Alan Davis's art either. There's something about his faces that don't really work for me, like the lips and the cheekbones. I don't know. So no, this isn't my favorite. I wish we could get some different Sharon Carter art.
Yeah, this is a particularly bad one in my opinion. Like, Sharon deserves better than this. Like, she looks beat up. She probably is beat up.
She is.
This is almost photographic level bad. Like, she's turned to the side. You can't even see what she's looking like. It's an action shot.
Her hair is a mess. Like, I'm not saying she has to be beautiful all the time, but like, compare her to like every other superhero and they all look put together. They look strong. Mm-hmm. She looks kind of desperate.
Yeah, her chin is really out there. Her nose, I don't know.
It's one of those things where if you look at the page that it's from, it's like, oh, there's clearly a better choice for her, and it's on this page. Yeah. Like, she's looks stronger. She's got the gun pointed. She still looks kind of dirty. I mean, even off this page, I know there are better images they could have used, but yeah, they pretty much went with like the worst one.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of other comics, what is some recommended reading that you have for us if we want to study up on Sharon in preparation for her upcoming episodes in Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I would say go with the start of Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America. I think that has been a super strong and well-loved arc and series for people that are really into Captain America and his storylines and the characters that run with it. So I would really check that out and then go from there. She's been in some recent comics as well. She's been in some Secret Avengers comics too, and it kind of seems to all stem from there.
I would also recommend reading some of the more recent Captain America comics because they did something interesting where, like we've said before, Captain America loses his super soldier serum, then he becomes this old guy, but his girl sticks with him the whole time, and so Marvel actually did something really interesting where they kind of reversed that, where Sharon, I can't remember exactly how or why, but Sharon ends up being aged up into like a 60-year-old woman's body, and meanwhile Captain America stays the young, valiant, soldier, and it was pretty interesting to see him stick by her even though she was an older woman because, there's so much value in comics and being like, these young, busty women, and suddenly Steve finds himself in a place where it's like, do I love this woman for her looks or do I love this woman because I love her? And so, yeah,
why
basically,
not both?
Yeah, exactly. But basically, he sticks by her, and they don't stick together for forever. But it is kind of interesting also that they don't immediately re-age her down, because again, society values youth, and I thought it was kind of cool that they actually kept her as this like, senior aged woman who had a position of power within S.H.I.E.L.D., and that was kind of cool. And it was like that for years and years and years. I was almost wondering if they were just like going to keep it like that permanently, and so they could have like this older powerful woman in their comics. But eventually, very recently, they did finally de-age her, which is probably good because she actually is a young woman, and we don't want to make her age too early. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of interesting to think about.
Sure. All right. Any other final thoughts on Sharon?
I'm excited to see her in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back, Agent 13. All right. Well, thank you both. That's all we have for today. I'd like to give a shout out to our patrons, Mr. Ben, Ty, and Katie. If you like what you heard today and want more, head on over to patreon.com and sign up to show us some love. Thanks for joining us. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching Deconstruct VS. We will see you next time to go into The Winter Soldier and Baron Zemo. Until next time, go read some comics.